Hello everybody out there in the bookverse, it's Stephanie, and today I am going to be bringing you a video about my favorite books that I read in 2019. So I'm going to do the same disclaimer as like everyone else who has made this video and say that these are books that I read in 2019, not necessarily books that were published in 2019. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you would like to see more from me, definitely subscribe down below and hit the bell icon so you'll be alerted when I post new videos. But let's get into the books because these are all so good and I'm really excited to talk to you about them. There are going to be 5 books that I chose as my favorites. I'll talk a little bit more about them in a minute, but first I'm going to talk about 2 honorable mentions very briefly since they're only honorable mentions, but I wanted to throw them in there anyways. The first one is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is a book about a young girl who is supposed to die on her 11th birthday, but she gets whisked away by a man named Jupiter North to a place called Nevermore where she joins some trials to try to join their wondrous society, which is like the elites of that place that she lives in. This is a middle grade book that I read for Believe-a-thon in November and I absolutely loved it. I adored it so much. It was 5 stars. I was so into it the entire time. The characters were amazing, adorable. There were twists. There were things that I didn't see coming. There were just sweet friendships and good people, and I highly recommend that book. The second honorable mention is The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafon. This is a companion novel to The Shadow of the Wind, which is one of my absolute favorite books of all time. This book wasn't quite as good as that one in my opinion, but I still loved it. I love Carlos Ruiz Zafon's writing style. I think it is beautiful and amazing, and I just want a million books from him. This is about a man who is hired to write a book, and I honestly don't know how much more I can describe it than that. He is hired by this kind of unknown person who is a little bit on the creepy side, honestly. Like, he comes in the shadows, he knows everything about him, and he wants him to write a book for him because he is kind of a well-known-ish writer. So he starts writing this book for this man, and things start happening surrounding this book that he is writing, and it is exciting. It is so interesting and intriguing, and you just want to know what is going on and what's happening. So yeah, I really liked this book. The next book on this list is one that I just finished in December, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is Leigh Bardugo's first adult fantasy book. It is an urban fantasy and takes place at Yale University. It follows a girl named Alex Stern who can see ghosts, which is the reason she has been given a full ride scholarship to Yale. Yale has these 8 secret societies that practice magic, and pretty much they are using this magic for their own gain. They're using it for riches or power or influence or things like that. And Alex has been asked to join the Ninth House, which is kind of there to regulate these other societies and make sure they're not taking advantage or hurting the students or the people at Yale or in the town. So Alex, at the beginning of the book, comes upon this murder and she thinks that it is associated with the houses, and as she keeps investigating it, she learns new things and she's put into a lot of danger, and it is so much fun. I loved Alex as a main character. I felt like she was extremely relatable as she would go to all these super fancy parties and hang out with all these really rich kids and stuff. Her inner monologue about what she felt about these different people and the lifestyle that they lived was very entertaining. I think that she was just such an awesome character because she wasn't perfect. She had flaws. She was definitely a morally gray character, but she was doing what she thought was right in the majority of these cases. Like, she was really trying to do what she felt was justice and what was right and what she was expected to do in her role. So I love that. I loved her mentor, Darlington. I think he is just so perfect to be Alex's mentor because they are just completely opposite in every way, and it makes it extremely fun to read the banter that goes on between them. I liked the twists that came in it, and I just think it was really well written. I know some things people thought were really obvious in the book, which I think was intentionally done, so I enjoyed that. And I know a lot of people struggled with it because they had different expectations going in, but I didn't really have a lot, so that might be part of the reason why I enjoyed it. But I highly, highly would recommend this book if you like a kind of dark urban fantasy. This definitely has adult elements in it, so be aware of that and look up trigger warnings if you're worried about things that might be in here that you might not enjoy. But I loved it, and I just absolutely love this book, and I can't wait for the next book in this series to come out. The next book that joined this list just in December was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I don't even know what to say about this book because I have talked about it so much, but this is a story of 4 boys who go to this very prestigious private school in, I believe, West Virginia in the United States, and they are searching for a Welsh king who is apparently brought over and buried there, and they're searching along these ley lines because they think that's where they will find him. They become kind of involved and connected with this girl named Blue. Blue's whole family are clairvoyants, but Blue is not psychic in any way, but she enhances psychic abilities. She enhances that power, so she is useful to them, and not that they're using her or anything, her family's very nice, but she is still kind of involved in their psychicness that they do actually as their jobs. I loved the characters in this book. I think the character development was amazing. I think all of the boys were so unique and different, and they added something to this group that was just great, and it was amazing. I had so much fun getting to know these characters. I loved Blue. I think she was adorable. She is just the cutest, sassiest, most unique character to just throw into this group of boys, and I think it was very well done. If you like urban fantasies and that have kind of a paranormal element, this is definitely a good one to go for. It is a YA fantasy. And I'm continuing with the series right now, and I just want to know how everything turns out, where everyone ends up, and I am so invested in this story. Also making my top 5 of the year is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This is an adult fairy tale. I don't know if it's retelling. I think it might be a made-up new fairy tale, but it follows a young girl who lives in a small village on the outskirts of a magical evil wood. And every 10 years, the magician protector of their land comes, and he chooses one girl to go and kind of be his servant for the next 10 years in his tower with him. And she thinks it is going to be her best friend, but actually he ends up picking her, unsurprisingly, and she learns that she has magical abilities as well, and she kind of is developing these and trying to help him in his quest to save the land from this evil forest. And also there's politics involved because there's a royalty who kind of owns the magicians almost, and so everyone is just trying to figure out what the best thing to do for this land is. And there are personal agendas on here that definitely throws everything off, and I just loved it. It has such an old fairy tale feel to it. I am a sucker for the magical wood setting. It is very atmospheric, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself while I was reading this. I think this character was definitely, I didn't love her as much as I felt like I would, but I did enjoy her story a lot, and I think the plot, the atmosphere, and the story was what I loved the most, more than the characters, which is extremely unusual for me in a book. I wasn't as invested in the romance, and I didn't necessarily love her the most. I really did enjoy her a lot. I thought she was a good character, but she's not my absolute favorite. I'm not much into their characteristic is they're clumsy, because that's not something that I find that entertaining, Twilight. But I really, really loved this book. If you are into fairy tales and want an adult fairy tale story, I would pick this one up. My next favorite book is also an adult fantasy book. I feel like that has become a trend, and it is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I got really into Neil Gaiman this year, and I read a lot of his books, and this one was my favorite. The story follows a man who is living in London. He's just living a basic normal life. He's a businessman, I believe, and then one day he finds a girl on the sidewalk, takes her home to help her, and his life is turned upside down. People are searching for this girl. She's apparently a big deal, and he is pulled into this world called Neverwhere, which is kind of an underground fantasy world beneath London. And this girl that he has helped and saved is very important in this world. She's trying to go on a quest to figure out what happened to her family, and he joins her in this, and there's a whole crew of people that are all working with her to try to save her life and figure out the mystery of what happened to her family. There are some very entertaining bad guys in here as well, which I very much enjoyed. There's twists in here that I didn't see coming. I think the way that Neil Gaiman described things was amazing. One of the characters has a fear of heights, and just the way he described it seemed so real. It was like, yes, that's exactly what I would imagine a fear of heights would seem like. The uniqueness of the world and what was happening in there was really fun and entertaining to find out about and to live in for a while. And I love Neil Gaiman's writing style. I know that he has a unique style that's not for everyone, but I personally am a huge fan of his style, and this book it's one of my favorites of all time. I need to reread it sometime because I feel like it's been too long and it's only been a few months. That's how much I loved it. The final book on my list of my favorite books of 2019 is also an adult urban fantasy, and that is The Golem and the Genie. It is by Helene Wecker. The majority of this story takes place in the late 1800s in New York. There is a golem who has been brought over from Europe to New York, but her master has died, so she is just on her own trying to figure things out there for the majority of the time. There is also a genie in New York, hence the title, The Golem and the Genie, whose lamp has been brought over and he is released, and the story ensues from there. Their lives kind of intertwine and they become important to each other, but there's also things going on that they don't know about. There's things at play that has really affected both of their lives, and they just don't understand everything because it's happened in the past. There's a little bit of dual timeline that goes along as well, so you'll learn about what happens in the past and how it has affected the future time where we are for the majority of this story. Again, the atmosphere in this was so well done. I think it just made it feel so magical, the way that everything was described. It just was a world that I wanted to live in. I never wanted to put this down. I think I read it in one sitting, or practically one sitting, one night. And it is just so beautifully written. I don't know any other books by this author, but I'm definitely going to need to look up because I think I would love other things by her. Her character development was amazing. The character arcs that we saw throughout this story were just incredible. How much they changed and learned and grew, and they became such different people than they were at the beginning. And it was really amazing to just read through it. I became so attached to these characters. I just wanted all the good things for them. I just wanted this story to last forever. I wanted to stay with these characters in this world, and it could have just gone on for another 500 pages, and I think I would have been completely fine with that. So that is it for my favorite books of 2019. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. Tell me if you've read any of these books as well. Tell me what you thought. If you didn't like them, definitely talk to me about it in the comments as well. Let me know what your thoughts are on it and why you didn't enjoy it. Let me know also what your favorite book of 2019 was, because I'm really interested to know. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more from me, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post new videos. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.